Seahawks fans, wherever you may be. Welcome back for another edition of the Seahawks Playbook Podcast. Join your host, Bill Alvstad, and co-host, sports writer and football analyst Keith Myers, as we talk Seahawks football.
Of the Seahawks Playbook Podcast. I'm your host, Bill Alvstad, sitting down again with Mr. Keith Myers. Keith, welcome into the show. Our third show this week. Man, that hasn't happened very often in the last 5 years, but it's going to happen every week from now on.
Yeah, it's definitely new for us, but yeah, we're back. Although I will say you forgot something. Here.
Yeah. It's almost like Star Wars. That thing just kind of hits you upside the head.
Gotta use that the new intro. That looks fantastic. So
it's funny. Just so you know, in post-production, I can actually add that to the front of the show, not after 20 seconds. But it was awesome that you did that live, right?
I'm so glad that
you're excited.
Screwed that up.
You know, it's
whatever.
It's hard to hold you back.
So let's jump into content because 30 minutes goes by quick. That's what we learned earlier this week. So
we do have a nice little backdrop now that I kind of spent a little bit of time with, and it needs a little fine tuning. You can see if things are off just a little bit, but it was pretty good for a first guess because that's all I really did. So this show, the primary focus part of the show is going to be on previewing the upcoming game. We've got a third preseason game, the third and final preseason game this year. We are likely to see some starters. We'll talk about that in a few minutes up front. Just had a few things to cover. Heard that Mike Holmgren and
Matt Hasselbeck
are going to be in the Ring of Honor.
About freaking time.
I'm not taking anything away from those guys because I think it's awesome. But Sean Alexander and a guy like Steve Hutchinson aren't up there yet either. Are either of those two likely to land there at some point?
I'm surprised Sean Alexander hasn't hit already. Hutchinson, I thought the team already did honor him with some stuff and that kind of stuff. They gave
him a towel and a mouse pad. I mean, what stuff?
I don't remember. I remember but there was before he got his Hall of Fame stuff going in. Like they basically made their peace after the poison pill stuff, and I thought he was going into the Ring of Honor.
I'm so over the poison pill. Football is a business at the end of the day, and they made a business decision. I'm not going to hate them for that.
Yeah.
As a player, man, when Walter Jones and Hutchinson were over there on the left side, it was the best tandem in the business, and I enjoyed it, and that's what I remember. That's the way I choose to do it. Some people are going to hold that grudge forever. That's just not me. But Mike Holmgren and Matt Hasselbeck in there, finally you're seeing, them join Walter Jones in that era, between 2000 and 2010, that now is being recognized up there. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. Like I said, it's way overdue for both of them. I get with Holmgren because he was with the Browns and, he was doing stuff with other teams and whatnot. They were a little reluctant, but why isn't Hasselbeck in there? Like, why wasn't he in there 5 years ago? Makes no sense to me.
So the weirdest thing in Seahawks land happened this week. We signed Luke Wilson, and the very next day, Luke Wilson retires. What was going on there?
A heart problem that I think came up in his physical. He's like having some heart issues, and he's like, you know what? I'm walking away.
Yeah, I mean, he gave some other reasons attached to that. But yeah, all you can do is feel for the guy a little bit, kind of came back and then realized that maybe this just wasn't, a good fit for him and decided to move on. In the meantime, then Seattle signed another tight end, Ian Bunting, a 6'7", 255-pound guy. Doesn't have a tremendous amount of production in college, was recently released by the Cardinals. And that could actually give us a clue as to actually why they signed him this time of the year. Sometimes transactions take place because of where they come from, maybe not necessarily because the they think that the player is going to stick long term, and he may be able to provide some valuable information about the Cardinals and what they're doing in camp.
That's actually not why I think they signed this guy.
Really? You think that he's got like some upside?
No, not at all. I think they signed him because Colby Parkinson is banged up a little bit, and Bunting is also 6'7". And so what it will do is it will allow Wilson to continue to work with that giant tight end giant target of a tight end in the red zone and some of those things. So Wilson can continue to get some practice and reps, even if Parkinson isn't out there and healthy. So
I just think it's kind of interesting how they go from making a decision to bring Wilson back, who fits a certain prototype, and then they turn the next day and bring in a completely different type of body in the same basic position. Yeah. So
I think it comes down to me, it's you bring in Wilson because you know who he is and you know what he brings and you know what he'll bring you to practice. But then when that doesn't happen, you're like, okay, well, what's left? You know what? We're bringing someone in because Parkinson's hurt. Let's bring in a cardboard standee of Colby Parkinson, and we'll just use that. And I think that's what we've got here.
So I thought I'd just kind of do a free range segment on this whole game preview thing because I really didn't come in with a lot of information. In fact, zero information really on the Chargers. That are going to be visiting the Seahawks on Saturday. But this is probably the game out of the three that everyone should be somewhat interested in watching.
It's the only one that the starters might play.
That they might play now. I'm okay. And I think most people are with if Russell Wilson doesn't take a snap in this game. With Dwayne Brown still sitting out, they're still trying to work that out. I understand they're talking a little bit. It seemed like Condata was leaning towards a slight bump to kind of appease him this year, but no long-term deal is in the making. That seems to make the most sense to me too. Let's see if we can get him on the field, get him to play this year, and figure it out in the off season.
I mean, if they can do that, whatever they can do to get him on the field and playing and happy, and that's fine. Russell Wilson wants Brown to be given an extension, and if they don't give him an extension and they let him play out the end of the year and then don't give him an extension in the offseason, they better have a plan for a high-end left tackle for next year.
And they don't have a first-round pick.
Yeah. So they've got to have something going. I think this is a bad play on the team's part. I get why they do it. He's 36. He has had some injuries in the past. But he's still playing at a really high level and played all 16 games last year. And
I would put the money out there. I just wouldn't put the guarantees out there. So I would wait on the guarantees. So a lot of times guarantees kick in the off season after the new league starts in March, like 5 days after the league year starts, the guarantees kick in on the contract. I might delay that. So I would put the money in there, put the contract there. Everyone's in agreement, but I might put that into April.
Yes, yeah. If I was him, I would
find out what's going on in the draft and find out if you're ready to move on. If you're not, let those guarantees kick in. Everyone's happy. If you're ready to move on, then you're able to have an out.
Yeah, but he won't sign that because you don't want to be the guy that.
At least it saves face a little bit.
You don't want to be the guy that gets cut in April because all the money in free agency is gone. All the teams have spent the majority of stuff. So if you're out there, hoping for 13 million a year, you're not going to get it. He's not
going to be a guy that's going to be in heavy demand in March. Do you think? Or maybe.
He was one of the top left tackles last year.
But at 35, the Seahawks are facing, other teams are facing the same sort of questions. And so if that were true, why do the Seahawks seem so eager in leaving themselves an out and moving on from Dwayne Brown when your quarterback's asking for an extension, Dwayne's asking for an extension? It makes sense to us for a lot of different reasons. Why isn't it making much sense to John Schneider?
I just think he's trying to be careful after the Cam Chancellor guarantees just handcuff the team for 3 years. And so they're trying to, they want to wait till the end of the year. They're going to see where the market's at and figure out like, okay, because if his market is at 15 million a year, well, that's the asking price. And you're like, ouch. But what if the market comes in at 9 million a year? Okay, we can do that. You know what I mean? So it's for them, it's more of just slow playing things. Let's see what the market develops as, and then deal with it.
See if he comes in. I mean, that's really what they're probably doing is if he's going to come in, then why give him the money? Let's talk about players today. I was just thinking that we could just kind of go through some stuff. We're going to talk about the game, what we want to see, but really it's about the players. We haven't seen a lot of great team offense or team defense this preseason. We've been really kind of focused on players, individual performances, all that kind of stuff, just so that we can take something away positive from these outings. What are you expecting overall as far as how the team performs first before we get into just individual performances?
I don't know. For 2 straight weeks, you've asked me that question, and I said, what am I expecting? What do I want to see? I want to see the offense be efficient, tempo, execution, and they've done none of that for 2 weeks. You know what? I don't know what to expect. What do I want to see? I want to see that. I want to see Russell Wilson take some snaps. I know that people are like, let's not get him hurt. Let's not do that. But I want to see him actually out there at full speed against a defense, not, other guys that can't hit him because he's wearing a red shirt. But, in game situation, I want to see him get some reps at that speed in the new offense and have it work. I want to have it click. He doesn't have to be out there for a half or whatever. Give him a series, maybe 2, then get him off there. But I want to see it. I want to see the offensive line provide him some time. I want to see the offensive line open some holes. I want to see Rashad Penny actually do things that we've been waiting for Rashad Penny to do now for 3.5 years. Get outside the tackle and get upfield. Use that speed, get some yards.
Let's stop you right there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the offensive line. Let's talk about Rashad Penny. So let's talk about Penny first. Let's talk about what is going on there. So this is his make or break year. He's not going to be under contract next year. The team declined his 5th-year option. He's playing for life in the NFL. And he hasn't been able to stay healthy enough this preseason, this training camp, to get many reps. Nothing really with the offense so far in the 2 preseason games. And there's questions as to whether he's going to be healthy enough to even see any action in this game. So what is he actually on the bubble? Like, are we talking about a player that we could actually end up cutting or trying to trade for some sort of conditional 7th-round pick in 2023?
I don't think they'd trade him for a conditional 7th-round pick in 2023. Just simply because
they keep him on the roster. Because
I think they keep him on the roster because they know that, okay, he might not be ready, but if you're gonna keep a 4th running back, he's more talented than any of the other guys you would keep. Instead of
put him on your injured reserve list to bring back later? No,
it depends. I mean, if it's gonna be a month, sure, because then you can bring him back after week 6. But if he's, okay, he's gonna be ready to go week 2, or maybe he'll be ready to go week 1 on a snap count. You know what I mean? It's not that a limited. Bring him in. Keep him around. I wouldn't trade him for a bag of footballs, which is what you were suggesting. But if the Steelers come knocking and they say, hey, we'll give you a 4th-round pick for him, or probably then we'll give that. We'll give you a 5th-round pick for him, or we'll give you a 4th and you give us him and a 6th. They might take it. He just hasn't shown what we want him to show this training camp and the preseason so far. Now he might come out, if he is healthy enough to play, he might come out and have a big game, and put all that away. But honestly, DJ Dallas has been the more explosive player. He's been the more exciting player. He's quite frankly just been the more interesting player out of the 2 of them. So I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. I feel bad for him. I'm not trying to harp on him or make him feel awful. It is what it is. It's unfortunate. It's one of those deals where when you really take a look at the running back room heading into the offseason and then heading into training camp, he was kind of penciled in to be the number 2 guy. And I just don't even know if that's where he's at. Like, where does the team actually view him? Or are they seeing Dallas more in that role? I understand Homer's come back and he's put on considerable weight so that he can be more physical as a runner. Now, I'd like to see that. We'll see what that looks like. But the reports are that it's significant, and that's where that's the role he's trying to put himself into.
Yeah, he's trying to put himself into that, but the reason why he has stuck around has been because of his quickness, agility, able to win, get open in pass routes. You put on a bunch of weight in order to try and be more physical as a runner, and you lose all of the thing that was keeping you here anyway.
You gotta admit to me right this very second that he has not looked anywhere near DJ Dallas as far as agility, quickness.
Oh no, not speed. At all. No,
like we drafted him like that. That's why we drafted him, but he's never shown me that. Like, actually on the field, he plays way slower than he should given his size.
Yeah, I mean, that is who he is. He hasn't shown it, but he also hasn't played much. He had a little, his rookie season, he had a game and a half where he played a bunch, and it looked okay at times, as long as you didn't ask him to run up the middle ever. And okay, fine. But him putting on weight so he can run up the middle takes away all the things that he does well. And I don't think it's a good move for him. I think you're taking away your strengths without guaranteeing that you're adding new ones.
No player does that to their own body in the NFL. That's a request. Like, somebody asked him to put that weight on, or he came with that weight without somebody's permission, and they're probably working his ass off to try to get it off. So one of those two has to be true, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's stay with the offense. Let's go to that offensive line. You just mentioned that. I'll mention a couple other players I'd like to see as well. I'm really interested in kind of focusing on this Jake Curran guy. He's been lining up at right tackle. He's got rave reviews. I kind of want to see him in an extended look in this game, and I think he'll probably get it.
He should. He'll probably get at least the entire second half at right tackle, because, well, there's not really anyone behind him anymore. I mean, they don't need to get, Tommy Champion reps there. He's not making the team. So yeah, let Jake Curran go, because I want to see if Abuahe is going to be hurt, right? He was set to be your swing tackle, or he was going to win the right tackle job on his own. And then it was going to be Shell was the swing tackle. So you're going to have your your 2 starters, your swing tackle, and then Stone Forsythe on the roster. And that was going to be it. Without the swing tackle, because Abuahe's been hurt, now you're looking at keeping a right tackle and a left tackle that are separate for backups. So you're looking at Forsythe on one end. Who's going to be the right tackle backup? And right now, it looks like it's going to be Jake Curran. So, and that's interesting because he's actually done really well this preseason.
I'm not exactly sure where Abuahe is with his health, but I would imagine the team still probably sees him as a viable option there as well. I'd love to see Shell out there, so you kind of see a direct comparison between the two. Now, I know the second half you're going to have less starters and so forth with Curran, but nonetheless, it'd be nice to kind of see that. And then, of course, Stone Forsythe, and then we should see a little bit of Ethan Posick for the first time this offseason. I want to see that. I'm curious about that, just because I'm unsure about the center position. Coach Carroll believes in this guy, Kyle Fuller, as being the primary backup there. And I just have my doubts.
I haven't seen it yet. He's been in there playing with the starters because Posick's been hurt. And honestly, it hasn't looked good. It really hasn't looked good. And, they moved Phil Haynes to center partly because Posick was out, and you need more centers than just Fuller. But when Haynes was playing in center, that looked better, and he's a natural guard. So, yeah, honestly, I am very curious to see what it looks like with Posick in there. I'd like to see Haynes get more run at the center position to see if he can push Fuller off the roster, because I just have not been impressed with Fuller up to this point.
So sticking with the offensive side of the ball before we transition over to the defense, I just wanted to list out a few playmakers that I'm interested in and see what your take is. Maybe you have another couple on your own list. But D. Eskridge has been practicing for the first time this entire preseason. In fact, this entire offseason. He's in shape now. They've put him out there. He's ready to go full speed. Apparently, he's made some pretty splashy catches in practice the last couple of days. I'd like to see him out there just because I want to see him out there. It's our first pick in the draft in the second round this last spring. We haven't had a chance to look at him at all. So I'm pretty excited about that. In addition, I'm wondering if Will Disley and Gerald Everett get any action in this game, Chris Carson. And then, of course, I want to see DJ Dallas, see if he continues to build the momentum he's kind of already started.
Yeah, I mean, yes, on all of those. So that's Eskridge he is so electric in his athleticism and stuff that he can do, and getting him out there finally, letting us get excited for all the cool things he can do is just a really good idea. Entirely just because it'll be entertaining for me, and that's all I care about.
Especially in a preseason game. Yeah, just give him like 5 snaps and have him be involved in 3 of those, and then take him out.
Yeah. Don't let him hurt that toe again, because we don't want to deal with that. But no, he has a chance to be Golden Tate again. A guy that you get the ball into his hands and he just does things you don't expect a guy his size to do, and gains yards that you weren't expecting. He's just electric with the ball in his hands, and I think that I'm just ready to watch that. As far as I would love to see other starters. I don't feel like I need to see Everett or Disley. I know who they are. I think they know who they are. I think the team knows who they are. I mean, it would be fun to see them, but it's a preseason game, so they're. Are
you worried at all about continuity or just playing together? Against competition.
Here's the thing: if Russell Wilson's going to play, I'd like to see them in there just because he needs to be getting reps with the guys he's going to be throwing to when the games count, and also because I want Will Disley in there helping protect Wilson, because Disley's a damn good blocker, and absolutely. Wilson needs that. So, but no, I mean, as soon as Wilson comes out, if those guys come out, I'm okay with that. But I want to see Rashad Penny, if he's healthy enough to play, and DJ Dallas fighting it out for that number 2 spot. Because honestly, DJ Dallas has looked so electric in kick returns, catching the ball out of the backfield. He's looked pretty good in blitz pickup situations. He's done everything the team's asked of him.
Yeah, I'm actually really pleasantly surprised. Last year I thought, he just didn't seem to have that elite agility, any top end speed or pull away speed last year, but this year it just
he certainly does
off the page.
Yeah. This is more of what I was expecting from him last year, because his tape is limited college tape. He looked like a guy that just fits Seattle. I mean, he's got that agility, but then will plant his foot, turn it into power, and go through a linebacker. And I was like, oh yeah, this is a Pete Carroll guy. And we didn't see it. He had some opportunities last year, and it just never showed up. But it has showed up in camp really strongly, and we've seen it in the first 2 preseason games. I'm excited to see what he does this year. I think he's going to be fun, and he's not going to get a ton of carries. Chris Carson's still the guy. Rashad Penny is going to get his too. Dallas is the 3rd down back, the 3rd overall back. But he's still going to be fun. And honestly, I'm okay.
I tell you, and those plays that are designed for those guys out of the backfield by Shane Waldron are going to be dynamic. They're just going to be fun. Let's go to the defense. Let's keep this thing going. Tell me what you're thinking defensively, who you'd like to see, who do you want to hold up to your confirmations, your pre-confirmations, like, and who are you not expecting to see in today's game? How about like Jamal Adams? Are you expecting to see Jamal Adams out there for a few plays?
I'm actually not. Especially after Ryan Neal got hurt, you'd think, oh, well, maybe that means they're going to play him because they need another body, but they don't want to go into week 1 with Adams and Neal both banged up. And so I'm not expecting to see Jamal Adams. What I'm looking forward to seeing is are all up front.
I was thinking the same thing. My list is dominated by guys up front.
It's Alton Robinson and Rasheem Green. I want to see those two guys come up and do the things they did last week, because Rasheem Green has flipped the script because he was the guy that looked like on the outside looking in. And he's been one of the better defensive linemen.
I wrote down LJ Collier and Rasheem Green for the same reason, only that they play the exact same position.
Yes, they do.
I want to see what's going on with LJ Collier, because I'm just not seeing anything. I'm hearing all sorts of good stuff about Green. Is Collier's job on the line? I
don't think so. Look at what Collier did last year.
No, I get it, but I understand that all he's done this year is tried to bull rush so far, and he's just getting repelled because he doesn't have anything else, and he's kind of trying to work it out from the inside. And Ken Norton came out in a news conference and said, yeah, those two guys in particular are going to need to stand out on the inside because they're not going to get any reps on the outside because that position is crowded. That's a direct quote from Norton.
And so, I mean, I'm all with you on that. I mean, that is because so last year Collier looked good, but he looked good at the 5-tech spot where he could, have that edge and that kind of stuff. Now they're asking him to move inside to the 3-tech and get the job done there, and it's just not looking as good as we'd like it to. Rasheem Green, we know, he's just a more twitchy athlete. Not nearly doesn't have the functional strength of Collier, because Collier is he's a really stout player. Yeah. But he's, Green's quicker and a little bit more dynamic. And honestly, if they're looking for a guy to be a run stuffer type of thing, Collier can get that job done, but he doesn't look like he's going to do much again as a pass rusher in there. And if Green's going to get the snaps.
How about a couple of the bubble guys like Jared Hewitt, undrafted defensive tackle, and Robert Kimdichie? There was some early hope about Robert Kimdichie, and now he's one of those guys that's really just at the end of that roster trying to make a spot on that line.
He's a bubble guy. Has he done enough to make the roster? I don't know. Especially with some of the younger guys, like Hewitt, playing pretty well at times. I mean, granted, he's playing against third stringers, and so, you put him against starters and he may just not show up at all. But, what's Kimdichie shown other than, we remember that he was a first-round pick a few years ago, but he hasn't really shown much. And so, yeah, I mean, he's got to come out and play. He's got the talent. He's got the physical skills. Come out and play. Earn that spot. No one's going to give it to you, dude. Earn your spot on this roster.
A couple other guys I'm curious about, and then I'm curious kind of about the entire defensive back room. But Darrell Taylor, Marquise Blair, are they going to get a run in this game at all? And if so, what would you be looking for with those two players?
I think yes, they're going to. I mean, these are young players that need reps.
You know where Blair's at? Is he getting practice time?
Yeah.
Right now, and
he is. They should both be playing, and they're just young players that are getting used to their position, and they need the reps. So I'd play them. Darrell Taylor, especially, he's the strong side linebacker, but he's really a pass rusher, and he's a strong side linebacker only against, the run, hopefully. And so they need to get him reps as a linebacker and maybe play in the base more than you normally would, just to get him more reps there, because he's new to the linebacker position. He was a defensive end. And so getting him some more reps where he's learning his cues and reads from off the line of scrimmage a little bit, I think will be important. So I'd love to see them do that for him. And then for Blair, like, just use him in his role. Is he going to be an outside corner? Is he going to be a slot corner? Is he going to be a strong safety? Is he going to be a free safety?
Is he as physical as he had been in the past? And is he sticky in coverage?
Yeah. Just go. He can do all of the things. So if you're going to ask him to do all the things, let him do all the things. And
you can't protect him forever. You kind of have to just go out and be the guy you're going to be. And it's a tough, NFL's a tough business, but you got to be able to show it on the field. You just can't theoretically do it in practice. Okay. Defensive backs, and then we'll wrap this thing up for this week. We got a new guy. We got a few old guys. We got some guys that are on the bubble. Has this roster on the back end been decided and this game is just a formality, or is there anybody here vying for a spot?
Oh, there's guys fighting for spots, especially with recent injuries. And so that with Ben Burkervin's injury, there might be an extra slot for someone who can perform on special teams. And they may be a safety, maybe they're a linebacker.
Maybe a corner.
Yeah, because Burkervin was a linebacker, but he was mostly a special teams guy. And with his injury, now there's an open roster spot for a special teams guy. And so, if a guy like Sutherland on the back end, or Thompson can, show they can do some special team stuff, they can make a roster that they wouldn't have made otherwise. And
they're really like Lakeem Williams as well. And he's a safety guy, but he's, 5'11", 220 pounds. So he's almost that Ben Burkervin size in a sense. And if he can play special teams, maybe they would opt for somebody like that, could give them a little bit of scheme diversity. I don't know.
Yeah. And so
those back end guys.
So they're looking, that's the kind of thing. I think a lot of it's decided, that, Reed and Amati and Blair and Adams and Diggs and Witherspoon and
Trey Flowers and Demarius Randall. I mean, there's a lot of guys.
I wouldn't put Demarius Randall as a lock, but Trey Flowers,
really? They love him, actually.
I haven't seen enough from him to show me that he has earned a spot. He's a bubble guy. I think he will make it, but I think he's on the bubble. And yeah, I mean, a lot of that's decided. I didn't say Ryan Neal in that list, and I should have. But there's room for another guy or two, especially with the injuries that we had. Although, before we get out of here, because we're right up against the clock, but that Ben Burkervin injury might have opened the door for KJ Wright. And I read a thing saying that Brock Heward's actually saying that it looks like that may be what spurs the Seahawks into pulling the trigger on bringing KJ Wright back. So we'll see. That would be fun. I'd love to have him back.
I wouldn't mind that, and it's not going to cost very much. And I think it'd be a goodwill thing for the team and helpful, just from a skill perspective.
Good player, great Seahawk, very solid locker room guy. There's no downside. Bring him in.
I love having this clock. We've got a clock. I don't know if everyone else can see it, but we've got a clock internally in our broadcast studio that's helping us stay on task. I actually love it, just because both of us can see it, and so
I think we talk faster because we're like, oh my god, we got to get through stuff. Okay.
Yeah, the energy levels picked up, and we're having a margarita, not a coffee. So let's talk about the schedule coming up really quick. We've got a couple of great shows. After this game, there's a 2-week gap. Like, there's a built-in bye week before the first week of the season.
It's weird.
It is weird, but it gives us an opportunity to squeeze in 2 shows that are some of our favorite shows of the year into this 2 week. We're doing 6 total shows during those 2 weeks, but 2 of those shows are going to be pretty fun. We're doing the roster prediction show, 5th annual roster prediction. We may end up having to do that over 2 separate shows. That
usually is a long show, so we'll see how that goes. Maybe we'll do offense and defense.
One show, and then we'll do a second show after that, and then the annual season prediction show is going to be in there.
Where we go game by game through the schedule and predict it.
We'll talk really fast and we'll get through that, or we'll do it over 2 shows. We'll do the first half of the season, second half, whatever. That's the fun about having these sorts of artificial time limits now. Now we're pressed against the clock and off to the races. So, okay. Find Keith on Twitter at Myers NFL. I'm at NW Seahawk. The show is at Hawks Playbook. SeahawksPlaybook.com has all the shows. Find us on YouTube, on your favorite podcast platform. And until next show, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Seahawks Playbook Podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Phil is at NW Seahawk. Keith is at Myers NFL. And the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.